Have you ever noticed that the more aware you become, the harder it is to live the same way? That once you begin to see the deeper layers of life, society, relationships, even your own thoughts, something shifts, and not always in a comforting way. It starts with questions, then realizations, and then disconnection. The truth is, awareness often feels less like a blessing and more like a burden, not because it's wrong to see clearly, but because most of the world is built around not seeing at all. Let's start with something simple. Have you ever found it difficult to unsee something? Once you've learned how manipulation works in advertising, you can't watch a commercial the same way. Once you've understood how social dynamics are shaped by insecurity, status, and projection, small talk starts to feel like performance. And once you start seeing the world without filters, you begin to feel like you don't belong in it. But why does this happen? Why does awareness create isolation? The answer, as always, lies within the architecture of the human mind. Humans are pattern seekers. We crave meaning, comfort, and certainty. Most of what we believe, our identities, routines, even our dreams, is shaped not by truth, but by what keeps us sane. But when someone develops a high level of self-awareness or philosophical insight, they start questioning the very fabric of that comfort. They see through the stories that keep society functional, and that's when the discomfort begins. Because truth doesn't always soothe. Sometimes it destabilizes. This is what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, that uneasy tension when your mind holds two conflicting beliefs. Deep thinkers confront this dissonance daily, and most people, they avoid it at all costs. You see, when a person questions commonly accepted norms, they become a mirror, not for admiration, but for discomfort. They don't even need to speak. Their presence alone can unsettle people. Why? Because deep awareness doesn't just question the external world. It silently challenges how others see themselves. Think of it this way. Physical strength might inspire envy, but it doesn't shake your identity. Wealth may stir ambition, but it rarely feels personal. But deep insight, that makes people feel seen, and not always in a good way. It's not just social, though. There's biology at play. Our brains evolved for survival, not for truth. Fitting into the group meant safety. Being too different, too aware, too questioning. That used to get you cast out of the tribe. And in some ways, it still does. Modern neuroscience confirms this. When people feel intellectually challenged, their amygdala, the part of the brain that signals fear, lights up. Deep conversations can trigger the same threat response as physical danger. So, the next time someone changes the topic, when you bring up consciousness or mortality, it's not just disinterest, it's evolutionary defense. And yet, despite the isolation, people who think deeply can't go back. You can't unlearn what you've seen. You can't unthink truth. This is what philosophers like Simone Weil and Kierkegaard understood so well, that to live with depth often means to live with tension. Not because you're flawed, but because you've stepped outside the script. So what do you do when the world no longer speaks your language? You find your own. You write. You reflect. You create. You find conversations that don't end with silence, but begin with it. And most importantly, you learn to embrace the solitude not as exile, but as sanctuary. Because while awareness can isolate, it also liberates. It frees you from illusion. It frees you from shallow validation. It frees you from chasing what never mattered to begin with. So if you're listening to this and nodding silently, wondering why you feel different, disconnected, or even out of place in most rooms, know this: you are not broken. You are just awake. And in a world half asleep, that will always come at a cost. But it's a cost worth paying for a life that's not just lived, but truly understood.